Let me ask you something. Who's really in charge? Your mind or you? Most people live their lives reacting. They wake up already flooded with stress, worry, old beliefs, and fear-based thoughts they didn't consciously create, but unconsciously obey. You cannot live a powerful life if you don't take control of your mind. And the truth is, no one else can do it for you. Controlling your mind starts with awareness, not judgment, awareness. You have to observe your thoughts like an outsider. Catch the autopilot programs running in your head. That inner voice saying, I'm not good enough, or I always mess things up. Most people live years, decades, without questioning where those thoughts come from. The moment you become aware that you are not your thoughts, you've just taken your first step toward true power. Now, once you become aware, the next question is, what are you focusing on? Because the mind is like a camera, it captures whatever you aim it at. If you constantly focus on what's wrong, what you can't do, what might go bad, your mind obeys and builds emotional patterns around fear, anger, and helplessness. But if you shift your focus consciously to what you can control, what you're grateful for, what you're building, then you reclaim your emotional state. And here's the deal. Emotions are not random. They're habits. You feel the way you do because of what you're focused on and the meaning you're assigning to it. And meaning is the secret weapon. If you tell yourself the story, this is the worst thing ever, you'll feel defeated. If you tell yourself, this is the challenge that's going to make me stronger, then your mind turns pain into fuel. That's how you change your reality, by rewiring the narrative. But awareness and story alone aren't enough. You need the muscle of discipline, because there will be days you don't feel like showing up, days where the thoughts are heavy. But mind control is about choosing action over emotion, decision over hesitation. The most successful minds don't obey every thought. They redirect, reframe, and reprogram. That's not a one-time shift. It's a daily ritual. You know what most people miss? The body-mind connection. Your physiology is a powerful lever. Try this. Stand tall, breathe deep, expand your chest, and speak with strength. And see how your thoughts shift. Why? Because the body informs the brain. Movement, breath, posture, these are tools, not just reactions. Use them. When your body leads with power, your mind follows. And finally, look at your environment, not just your physical space, but your mental surroundings, your social circle, the content you consume, the language you hear daily. Your environment is either programming you or empowering you. Make no mistake, you become what you're around. You've got to be intentional. You want to control your mind? Start by guarding what gets access to it. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present, deliberate, and relentless. Awareness, focus, story, discipline, physiology, environment. When these align, the mind becomes your servant, not your master. And that's where real freedom begins. You can't change what you don't recognize. That's where it begins. Awareness. Most people are trying to fix their lives, change their behavior, break bad habits, or build success on top of a foundation they've never examined. But you can't paint over a cracked wall and expect the building to stand. You've got to go deep. You've got to start with what's underneath it all, your mind, and more specifically, your thoughts. Because every action you take, every emotion you feel, every result you get in your life begins with a thought. And here's the truth. Most of those thoughts aren't even yours. They're borrowed, inherited, planted by your past, your parents, your culture, your pain. You're not broken, you're just unaware. We've been conditioned to believe that thoughts just happen, that the mind is like weather. It comes and goes and we're just stuck dealing with it. But the moment you start observing your thoughts, rather than reacting to them, everything changes. That's when awareness kicks in. You hear a voice in your head saying, you're not ready. And instead of obeying it, you pause and go, wait, who says that's true? That pause is power. That awareness is the first domino. It allows you to step back, detach, and realize you are not your thoughts. You are the thinker. You are the observer. You have the ability to notice your mental patterns, and when you notice them, you no longer have to be controlled by them. But most people are stuck in a loop, a cycle. Their mind tells them they can't, they shouldn't, they'll fail, and they believe it. Not because it's true, but because they've never questioned it. They think what they think because they've always thought it. And that's the trap. Awareness breaks that. It shines a spotlight on the invisible programming. And once the invisible becomes visible, you now have a choice. That's the beauty of awareness. It doesn't fix everything immediately, but it gives you the leverage to start. When you're unaware, your thoughts run you. They hijack your emotions, your decisions, your direction in life. But when you're aware, you start to notice patterns. Every time I try to grow, I self-sabotage. Every time I speak up, I shrink back because of that voice in my head. Every time I'm about to take action, I procrastinate because of fear disguised as logic. That level of recognition creates clarity. And clarity is power. See, the goal isn't to never have negative thoughts. The goal is to not be ruled by them, to be the director of your mental movie, not just the actor reacting to the script. And once you start paying attention, really paying attention, you'll realize just how often your mind drifts, sabotages, catastrophizes, distracts. That realization might be uncomfortable, but it's a gift because it means you're waking up. You're no longer sleepwalking through life, obeying a script written by your past. You're taking the pen back in your hand. Awareness is a muscle. The more you practice it, the sharper it becomes. Meditation, journaling, self-reflection. These aren't trendy tools. They're training. Every time you pause and observe, you interrupt the pattern. You build the skill. You reclaim just a little more of your mind. And over time, those moments stack. You start choosing your response instead of reacting. You begin to notice the moment before the panic, the moment before the doubt, the moment before the old script kicks in, and in that moment you gain control. And that's the first step toward mastering your mind. You don't fight the mind. You watch it. You understand it. And when you understand it, you rise above it. Where focus goes, energy flows. That simple principle can either elevate your life or destroy your potential. The human mind is designed to answer the questions you give it, to find evidence for whatever you believe, to expand whatever you concentrate on. If you constantly focus on what's missing, what's wrong, what hasn't worked, your emotional state will follow that trail, straight into frustration, anxiety, or hopelessness. But if you shift your focus deliberately toward what's working, what's possible, what's in your control, you begin to feed a completely different emotional state, one of strength, clarity, and momentum. Most people don't realize how powerful focus really is. They let their attention get hijacked by social media, by fear, by someone else's urgency. They bounce from one worry to another, one distraction to another, and then wonder why they feel overwhelmed, stressed, or stuck. Your emotions are not random. They are being created moment by moment by what you're focused on. If you wake up in the morning and immediately focus on your problems, your lack of progress, or the pain in your life, you're priming your brain for suffering before the day even begins. But what if you took the same moment and focused instead on what you're grateful for, what you're excited to create, what you're committed to change? Your entire emotional state would shift. And with it, your behavior would too. This isn't just motivational theory. It's biological. Your brain has a system called the reticular activating system. It's like a filter. Whatever you focus on, your brain sees more of. If you keep saying to yourself, I can't do this, your mind starts scanning the environment for proof. If you say, I'm going to find a way, your mind begins hunting for solutions. You become what you repeatedly give your focus to. Focus isn't just what you look at, it's what you live inside. Think about it. Two people can experience the same event. One walks away broken, the other walks away empowered. The difference wasn't the event, It was what they chose to focus on in the moment. That focus created their emotional state, and that state drove their reaction. That's how life works. It's not the outside world that shapes you. It's the internal focus you bring to it. Control your focus, and you control the meaning. Control the meaning, and you control the emotion. And emotion is what drives every single action you take. People wait for their situation to change so they can feel better. But here's the truth. Change your focus and you can feel better right now. You don't have to wait. You don't need permission. It's a decision. The problem is, most people aren't even aware of what they're focusing on. Their attention is drifting, reacting, spinning. But the most powerful minds are laser focused. They don't waste energy on what they can't control. They don't dwell in what ifs. They fix their eyes on the outcome, the solution, the lesson, and they train their mind over and over to return to that space. This isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing what gets your mental bandwidth. You can acknowledge what's wrong without being consumed by it. You can face reality and still decide to focus on possibility. That's strength. That's leadership. And the best part, focus is a skill. The more you train it, the more natural it becomes. You can build it like a muscle, moment by moment, choice by choice, until it becomes your default operating system. And when it does, you no longer chase confidence or peace or motivation. They become the byproduct of the focus you've chosen. Your brain runs on stories. It's constantly interpreting, labeling, assigning meaning to everything that happens around you, and more importantly, everything that happens within you. That inner voice isn't random. It's the narrative you've absorbed over years of experience, culture, trauma, success, failure, and influence. But here's the key. Most of those stories weren't consciously chosen. They were picked up like static in the background of your life. A parent's criticism, a teacher's doubt, a moment of embarrassment, a pattern of rejection. Those events may have passed, but the story they wrote in your mind, that story is still playing. And if you don't rewrite it, you will keep reliving it. People think they're making decisions based on logic, but in reality, they're responding to the script in their head. The story that says, I'm not smart enough. I always mess things up. Success is for other people. Or if I get too close, I'll get hurt again. That story drives their behavior, their confidence, their risk tolerance. It becomes the lens through which they see the world. And the tragedy is, they think it's the truth. But it's not the truth. It's just a story. And every story can be edited, rewritten, reframed. To control your mind, you've got to challenge that narrative. You have to catch it in real time and ask, is this mine? Is this helping me? Is this based on who I used to be or who I'm becoming? Because the mind loves familiarity. It clings to the old story because it's safe, predictable. Even if that story keeps you stuck or small, it feels known. And the brain craves certainty over progress if you don't consciously intervene. Rewiring your story starts with language. Pay attention to how you speak to yourself. The words you use matter. They program your subconscious. If you constantly say, I'm terrible at this, your brain takes that as instruction. If instead you say, I'm learning, I'm getting better, I'm figuring this out, your mind opens new pathways, new responses. That slight shift in narrative shifts your identity. And identity is destiny. But it's not just about affirmations or positive talk. It's about choosing a powerful perspective, even in the middle of pain. Maybe you didn't get what you wanted. Maybe you failed, lost, got rejected. You can tell the story, I'm a failure, or you can tell the story, this was the test that will sharpen me. One weakens you, the other empowers you. Both might be rooted in the same experience, but only one helps you grow. That's the power of narrative. You can't change what happened, but you can always change what it means to you. And meaning is what fuels momentum. Your future depends on the story you decide to carry forward. And the beauty of the human mind is that it can be rewritten. You're not stuck. You're not fixed. You're not trapped in who you were. But to step into who you're meant to be, you must consciously decide, what story am I choosing to live inside today? That's where transformation begins. Not from the outside in, but from the inside out. When you shift the narrative, everything around you begins to shift too. Your decisions change, your energy changes, your standards rise, and slowly, powerfully, your life starts to reflect the new story you've chosen to believe. There's this dangerous lie most people believe without realizing it, that they need to feel like it in order to take action. That motivation must show up first, and only then will they get to work. But the truth is, your feelings are unreliable. They fluctuate with your mood, your sleep, your diet, your weather, your stress. If you wait on your emotions to lead the way, you'll be stuck in hesitation, inconsistency, and regret. Real power comes when you learn to override how you feel with what you decide. That's the difference between living on impulse and living with intention. That's the foundation of self-mastery. Mind control isn't about erasing emotions or never having doubt. It's about acting in alignment with your highest standard, regardless of your emotional state. Discipline is what kicks in when motivation leaves the room. It's the bridge between knowing and doing. And the people who get the most out of life aren't the ones who feel good all the time. They're the ones who train themselves to follow through even when they don't. And in fact, the ones who don't follow through are the ones who do the worst, the people who they don't negotiate with their mind in the moment. They make the decision ahead of time. I said I'd do it, so I will. That kind of discipline builds character, and that character shapes identity. Think about it. Your mind will always find a reason to delay. It will tell you just one more scroll, one more hour, start tomorrow. It will bargain and justify and rationalize. And every time you give in, you reinforce the story that you can't trust yourself. You weaken the muscle of commitment. But every time you follow through, especially when you don't feel like it, you send a different message. I'm in charge here. Not my fear, not my fatigue, not my doubt. That repetition becomes your new wiring. That's how mental control is built. Not in massive bursts of motivation, but in the small, gritty choices made in silence. Discipline isn't about punishment or pressure. It's about freedom. The freedom to build a life that isn't ruled by impulses or external forces. The freedom to create momentum regardless of your circumstances. When you master discipline, you master consistency. And consistency beats talent, it beats luck, it beats excuses. Because discipline is what shows up when nothing else does. But here's what most people don't see. Discipline is trained, not inherited. You build it by doing hard things when it would be easier not to. You build it when you show up to the gym even when your body is sore. When you sit down to write even though your mind is full of noise. When you keep your promises to yourself even when no one's watching, especially then. That's when the mind is reprogrammed, not when it's easy, but when it's inconvenient. The more you do this, the less power your moods have over your life. You stop being a victim of your emotions and start becoming a leader of your outcomes. Because if you're not in control of your mind is in control of you. And your mind, left unchecked, will always take the path of least resistance. It wants comfort, not growth. It wants safety, not significance. So if you don't train it, it will default to average. But if you lead it with discipline, you take the wheel. And suddenly, your life begins to reflect purpose instead of patterns, decisions instead of distractions. That's where transformation lives, in choosing to rise, not because you feel like it, but because you decided to. Your body is not just something you live in. It's a direct portal to your mind. Most people treat their mental state like it exists in isolation, but nothing could be further from the truth. Your posture, your breathing, your movement, all of these send constant signals to your brain about how to feel, think, and behave. If you're slouched, shallow breathing, and moving slowly, your mind reads that as low energy, low confidence, low clarity. On the other hand, when you stand tall, breathe deep, move with intention, your mind instantly responds with more focus, more confidence, more control. This isn't theory, It's biology. Your physiology changes your psychology. Think about the last time you felt truly unstoppable. Were you curled up, head down, barely breathing? Or were you upright, moving powerfully, your chest open, your breathing strong? That physical state wasn't a result of your emotion. It helped create it. And this is where most people miss the opportunity. They try to think their way into a better mental state, but their body is working against them. If your body is broadcasting fear, your brain will listen. If your body is radiating power, your brain will adapt. You can use this to your advantage every single day. One of the fastest ways to shift your mental state is to shift your breath. Your breath is the remote control for your nervous system. Most people breathe reactively, unconsciously, and shallowly, especially under stress. But when you learn to take control of your breath, longer, deeper, fuller, you send a signal to the brain that you're safe, calm, in charge, and from that state, the mind becomes far more responsive to your direction. Even just 2 minutes of conscious breathing can interrupt panic, reduce overwhelm, and reconnect you to presence and clarity. It's a reset button built right into your biology. The same applies to movement. Emotion is created by motion.